You know, we live in a world today, and it really is depressing to think about it. We live in a world today where there are several 100 million people starving to death. They're starving to death right now. We live in a world where my guess is that between all the superpowers and the other nations of the world, close to $1 trillion are being spent every single year on weapons, on more and more nuclear bombs, on the most sophisticated nerve gases which can wipe people out and paralyze them. And yet, with all the brilliance and all the fine technology and all the robots and the great medical research that they do up there in the hospital and all the other hospitals, civilization hasn't advanced one bloody iota for the last thousands of years. All that these people can do is still say to each other, we're strong, you're weak, you do it our way, or we're going to kill you. A very profound, civilized remark.
Unless people begin to stand up and call a spade, talk about what really goes on in this country, the degree to which both parties are dominated by people who have tremendous sums of money, who could care less about the average people, that unless we begin to break away and talk about real life and organize poor people and working people and farmers, that we're going to continue on down the path of greater and greater concentrations of wealth, more and more war, and more hardship and terror for the poor people and for the women of this country.
Working class kids who once had the dream that all Americans have, that if you do your homework and you do what you're supposed to do, maybe you'll go to college. That dream is gone.
We see kids writing their feelings and their perception of the world. I think almost by definition that's good. And it seems to me that we have very, very little of that goes on in the mass media today.
And the ruling class and the big money people do not want to see workers wake up. They don't want to see workers voting. Now this gentleman calls up, and the point that he makes is so poignant. He would like to learn about socialism. He would like to see if there's an alternative to the Democratic and Republican parties. Unfortunately, he's not going to see that on CBS or NBC and ABC. He's not going to hear about the possibility of an alternative to capitalism. He's not even going to learn about what goes on in Canada in terms of a national health care system, or the fact that they're now proposing, and Canada is no utopia, you know, I don't want to suggest that. He's not going to learn much about the housing programs in Sweden or in Scandinavia, okay, because the system wants to keep us dumb and ignorant. It's not an accident that during the last 8 years we have given hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to huge corporations at the same time that poor people through sales taxes and property taxes have had to pay more.
More and more of my patients just can't afford to pay for health care. And I'm sure a lot of you are afraid that if someone in your family gets sick, you won't be able to pay the bill. This year, I'm voting for Bernie Sanders because he'll fight for a national health care system that works for everyone.
Bernie Sanders. It's time for change. Real change.
Today is a tragic day for humanity, for the people of Iraq, for the people of the United States, and for the United Nations as an institution. It is also a tragic day for the future of our planet and for the children. I've got a problem with a president and a Congress which allows 5 million children to go hungry, 2 million people to sleep out on the streets, cities to become breeding grounds for drugs and violence. And they say, we're getting tough on crime. If you want to get tough on crime, let's deal with the causes of crime. Let's demand that every man, woman, and child in this country have a decent opportunity and a decent standard of living. Let's not keep putting poor people into jail and disproportionately punishing blacks. The system, by and large, is owned and controlled by big money interests, and the President of the United States and much of the Congress does the work of protecting the big corporations and the wealthy people who control the economic and political life of this nation. The American people hold the President of the United States in contempt. They hold this institution in contempt. They hold the Republican Party in contempt. They hold the Democratic Party in contempt. They think that maybe, given all of the crises facing this country, it's about time that there was some bold leadership here and that this institution made some hard choices. In the United States today, and this fact is not terribly well known, The wealthiest 1% of our population own 37% of the wealth. The wealthiest 1% of our population own more wealth than the bottom 90%. What we have been experiencing for the last number of years is the Robin Hood proposal in reverse. We have taken from the poor and we have given to the rich. You said something about homos in the military. Was the gentleman referring to the many thousands and thousands of gay people who have put their lives on the line in countless wars defending this country? Was that the group of people that the gentleman was referring to?
I'm talking about the military. People in the military do not support.
That's not what we were talking about. You used the word homos in the military. You have insulted thousands of men and women who have put their lives on the line.
I'm talking about you and liberals like you that keep the foreign defense.
The issue is whether the taxpayers of the United States will put at risk $20 billion without one word of discussion or one vote on the floor of the House. And if the gentleman disagrees with me, then he should participate in that debate on the floor of the House. Maybe he will win, maybe he won't. But that's the way democracy works, and that's what the Constitution mandates. This is what the reality is going to be. An individual is going to be in a downtown someplace, and that person needs $20 or $30. And that person is going to put their card in an ATM machine. And what they're going to find out at some point is that they're being charged $2 or $3 or maybe more to get $20 of their own money out of a bank.
Your thesis is, as is usually the thesis that we hear from representatives of big business, is that we got to prop up the wealthy and the powerful, because in the long run, let me finish. In the long run, it's going to really help everybody. And the fact that the rich today, the richest 1%, owns more wealth than the bottom 90%, the fact that the CEOs make 200 times more than their workers, in some magical way, it's all going to come down. The IMF in Russia, in Asia, in Africa, in Latin America, and all the suffering that it has caused to poor people, while rich people in almost every country have become richer. How in a straight face can you come before the taxpayers of the United States and say, hey, we want $18 billion more to continue this failed policy?
I believe this legislation in its current form will do more harm than good. It will lead to fewer banks and financial service providers, increased charges and fees for individual consumers and small businesses, diminished credit for rural America, and taxpayer exposure to potential losses should a financial conglomerate fail.
The United States has the most unfair distribution of wealth and income in the industrialized world, with the richest 1% owning 40% of our wealth, more than the bottom 95%. Meanwhile, 20% of our children live in poverty. We have millions of people who are experiencing hunger. We have some homelessness. People can't afford health insurance, can't afford to send their kids to college. This flag means the Constitution of the United States. We as Americans should be very, very proud of that. And we should do everything that we can to fight those people who, for political reasons, are trying to limit basic freedoms in America.
I am concerned about the problems of so-called unintended consequences. Who will govern Iraq when Saddam Hussein is removed? And what role will the U.S. play in an ensuing civil war that could develop in that country? Will moderate governments in the region who have large Islamic fundamentalist populations be overthrown and replaced by extremists? Will the bloody conflict between Israel and the Palestinian Authority be exacerbated? And these are just a few of the questions that remain unanswered. The reality is the middle class in this country is shrinking. The rich are becoming richer. The richest 1% own more wealth than the bottom 95%. How does that touch into the media? What the media does to a large degree is try to deflect our attention. Here's a scandal. We hope you'll get involved in that. Here's a ball game. We want you interested in that. But don't worry if your job goes to China. Not important. Don't worry if the minimum wage hasn't been raised in years and you're making $5.15 an hour. You don't have to worry about that. Don't worry if the pharmaceutical company has contributed tens and tens of millions of dollars to the Republican Party so that you end up paying the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. You're too dumb to worry about that. We got another scandal for you. But you didn't answer my question. Do you agree with the president? Do you agree with the president that it's a good idea that we lose good-paying jobs?
Governor Castle.
Can he answer the question?
Thank you. Time.
We believe that we can fight terrorism, protect the American people without undermining the basic constitutional rights which make us a free country.
I'm a lifelong Republican, and I support Bernie Sanders for the work he's done for the seniors and also for his honesty.
With Bernie, what you see is what you get. He tells it like it is, and that's what we like about him.
You know where he stands. He's had years of experience doing this job.
I'm very concerned about health care, as is every Vermonter, and I really feel that Bernie Sanders is on the right page.
He's working for the people, and he's not in anybody's pocket, not Bernie.
I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.
Why is it that in Vermont, in Michigan, all over this country, corporations are shutting down and moving abroad? Wouldn't it be a nice idea that if these guys wanted Americans to buy their products, which they certainly do, how about manufacturing some of those products here in the United States of America? Now tell me about the morality of giving tax breaks to the Walton family worth $80 billion and cutting back on the needs of the most desperate people, and throw in there a justification for raising the fees for our veterans who are getting into the VA hospital, significantly increasing them, which will drive veterans off of the VA.
Well, these are the veterans who have incomes that are higher than
$27,000 a year. What is the function of a private insurance company? Everybody in America understands the function of a private insurance company is not to provide health care, it is to make money. I am simply here today to take as long as I can to explain to the American people the fact that we have got to do a lot better than this agreement provides. Unless the American people rise up and say enough is enough, I am afraid that what will happen is the president will yield once again, and the wealthy and the powerful will laugh all the way to the bank, while working people will be devastated. This recession was caused by the greed, the recklessness, and the illegal behavior of the people on Wall Street. They control so much. And when people talk about Congress regulating Wall Street, I want all of you to know that it is very much the other way around. Here's the simple truth, that in America we have millions and millions of working people who are working hard but are not making enough money to put bread on the table or to take care of their kids, and that has got to end. Congress does not regulate Wall Street. Wall Street regulates Congress, and we have got to break off these banks. Going to them and saying, please do the right thing,
no, that's
is
not
kind of naive.
All over this country, you got a lot of bright, decent, good people, and they're saying, you know what? The situation is hopeless. You can't beat the Koch brothers. You can't beat the billionaires. You can't win. I'm giving up. That is exactly what they want us to believe. And I beg of you, do not enter that world of despair. I believe that as a human being, the pain that one person feels, if we have children who are hungry in America, if we have elderly people who can't afford their prescription drugs, you know what? That impacts you, that impacts me. And I worry very much about a society where some people spiritually say, it doesn't matter to me, I got it, I don't care about other people. So my spirituality is that we are all in this together, and that when children go hungry, when veterans sleep out on the street, it impacts me.